Hello everyone, and welcome back to a new video. Welcome back to the channel. Today I am mixing it up a little bit here and I'm starting something new. New question mark that I hope will become maybe a series of its own. First things first, I need to give credit where credit is due. I'm going to be illustrating some favorites of mine from the month of January. And this is actually an idea that I got from imawonder here on YouTube, artist Tina. I will put her link down below in the description box. She had done this roundup of all of her monthly favorites from 2022, just like all of her different spreads that she had created. And it was so cool to see them kind of like month to month and just like next to each other in her sketchbook and how different they were. And it was just such a fun way to highlight sort of monthly favorites. So I was heavily inspired by that. So thank you, Tina. And link to her channel is down below. She's got a lot of really awesome content over there. I had been I had been thinking about bringing back my monthly favorites here on the channel. And it was something that I was like on my filming to-do list for a really long time last year. And I was going to do just the traditional monthly favorites of where I talk to camera and hold stuff up and yada yada. I think I had done videos like that here a while ago, a long time ago. And you guys always really liked them. I liked them as well. And it just made for really fun, easy content. But I don't know, it gets kind of old after a while, just like talking to camera and holding things up. So I thought that this might be a really fun way to feature some favorites from the month, chat to you guys about things that I'm loving or doing, and also fill up some sketchbook pages as well, because who doesn't love, a funky, you'll see this ends up real funky, a funky sketchbook page like this. So while I'm here in voiceover mode, I thought I would just talk you through some of my favorites from the month of January. January, it was an interesting one. The beginning of the month felt just really weird, as it always does, that strange limbo between Christmas and New Year's, and you're just kind of like, like meandering around, and it just is really weird. Once I got past that, January was actually a really good month for me. If you can't tell, there's a lot of Disney that happened in my life in the month of January. 2 really big, fun Disney trips. I live close to the parks, so Disneyland is my local park, and have now that we are, magic key holders the past however long, we go pretty often. But this past month was especially frequent. The first trip was with my in-laws who hadn't been to Disneyland since their honeymoon 47 years prior. So we knew we had to take them on a trip and make, a 2-day extravaganza out of it. And that is exactly what we did. So the little Mickey beignets there kind of represent that trip for me. It was really fun. And I love taking people who don't go to the parks a lot or who haven't been in a really long time, just because I'm a Disneyland-aholic, so it's really fun to like Sherpa them around the parks, basically. I really love doing it. The second little Disney reference that you'll see are the teacups at the bottom, and that was from a second trip that I did, where I took Roman by myself. Roman is my 3-year-old son. I took him by myself, and that was one of my big goals for 2023, was try to take my kiddo by myself to Disneyland. Going to Disneyland is a lot of work. Going to Disneyland with a toddler is a lot of work. You're wrangling a stroller and snacks and water and bathroom breaks and, just a toddler, plus the drive there, the parking lot, the long walking. It's a lot. It's a very jam-packed day. And I knew that I was ready to do a trip by myself. And then finally, I had an opportunity to do so. I was invited to meet up with some friends who were taking their kids. And I thought, this is a good way to kind of break that in. So technically I did take him by myself. James didn't come with me, but I did meet with friends once I got there. But I think it still counts, the fact that I took him by myself, which can be a very anxiety-inducing experience. And it went over really well. So that's kind of represented by the teacups at the bottom, because Roman had actually never done the teacup ride, and we did it that trip. So Roman and I had our own little teacup spinning around, and he told me at the end of the day that that was actually his favorite part of that particular trip. So I had to document that in there. Illustrating those beignets, by the way, I did a lot of them from like end of, when did I do? Oh no, I was going to say end of December. No, but I started doing them after the January trip. I was illustrating them a lot in my 5-year journal and in my Disney junk journal, which is, oh my God, that's like my new obsession is the Disney junk journal. Anywho, I found a really just great combination of paint colors, and that's using that Holbein acrylic wash there, which is also one of my favorites from the month. My in-laws for Christmas got me the larger school set of Holbein acrylic wash. And I just, oh gosh, it's just such a treat. It's just so great. I use gouache here and there in my art journaling work and in my sketchbooks. And I typically use it as a way to fill in like backgrounds or to shade or like carve out something that I've drawn kind of on a blank page. But I really made an effort here to kind of use them to illustrate a number of things. So I'm toggling between like my watercolor tin that I've customized for myself and then the acrylic wash. And after I got that set and I was super into painting beignets all over the place, I had found like the perfect color combo there. So that's me using that kind of like yellow ochre color and the brown on the beignets up top. And I do later come in and add powdered sugar. So you'll see that in a little bit too. Again, just using white gouache and a super dry, haggard brush that was once a glue brush that I still use for texturizing here and there. At this current moment on screen, I am illustrating some white lotuses, but I'll talk about that in a moment. Before that, let's talk about the little book sitting there, which is my 5-year journal. I wanted to highlight this as a favorite because I had fallen behind on my 5-year at the end of 2022, and I literally had like 3 months to backlog, and I managed to do it. So even though I was just kind of putting like a post-it on each page, just saying like, hey, journal about this, or like a 1-word reminder of what needed to go in there, I still had literally 3 months of entries that I needed to go back and do. I was very stressed and concerned about it. And that little 5-year is a lot of work, but I really wanted to stick with it. I did not want to give up on it. So, spoiler alert, I did manage to catch up on the backlog of entries. And that's part of the reason why my little 5-year is one of my favorites for the month. Having another year in the books, or in the book, so to speak, just felt so nice. And I'm about to embark on year 3 of my 5-year. And as I've been doing my year 3 entries over the month of January, obviously, I'm realizing that maybe year 3 is the sweet spot. I don't know. I'm finding that it's a little bit easier to add illustrations in and like fill in nooks and crannies of where I don't have things illustrated, and then finding pages that do have space. I don't know. I'm just finding I'm enjoying the space and the daily journaling of it a little bit more. Maybe it's just the mood I'm in, having come off of a big success of doing a big backlog. I don't know. You tell me, if any of you guys are doing 5-year journals, is year 3 the sweet spot? I don't know. It seems like it is, and I have momentum, and I'm going to keep on rolling with it. So another one of my favorites for the month, and you can see I was illustrating those lotus flowers up there, which kind of turned out interesting because I half did them in watercolor and half did them in gouache. And I was feeling a little iffy about the gouache because I was using that like peach color at first. And I was like, oh no, what am I doing? This is not the color that I want. It's not like the greatest like light pink option that comes in the gouache set. But I did like a watercolor kind of background and then had the peach gouache on top, and then I put just some white on top of it. And I actually really liked the way that it turned out, was just adding that little bit of white gouache on top of a color where you have just like little snippets and peek through of the color underneath. But I'm still covering up like the tone that I really didn't like going on. Anywho, the lotus flowers actually represent the White Lotus on HBO, season 2. I loved season 1. Such a good, oh my God, the writing on that show is just absolutely incredible. How they manage all of the different storylines and bounce between things, the characters, the arcs of the characters. It's just such a well-written show. It's just so, and then it's pretty to look at, right? The White Lotus is just such a gorgeously shot show, and the locations, and everything is just so fabulous. And even just the music, right? I mean, the theme song alone is so catchy. But I had yet to watch season 2, and it was one of those things where, and James always makes fun of me because he'll be like, you can watch something at any time, because when I'm working, I generally have something on in the background because I don't like to create art in silence, like I'm sure a lot of us do. I have been making more of an effort, though, this year to try to listen to more audiobooks and just play music and whatnot. But if I don't have a running list of YouTube videos to catch up on, I usually will have like a show on that I'm watching. But White Lotus is one of those shows where you really do want to actually watch what's going on. So it's not the best thing to have on in the background while I'm working, because I actually want to watch it and enjoy it. So it had kind of just been sitting on my watch list forever. And James had already watched it and had told me like it was so good, and, you know, was trying not to spoil it for me. And I just was like, when am I going to watch this show? Well, the best time to binge watch a show is when you are recovering from your booster the day after, and you are just flat horizontal in bed all day, which is what happened. I got my booster, and to be expected with all of my previous boosters, I was down for an entire day. And in bed, I watched The White Lotus season 2, and it did not disappoint. Not gonna lie, I might have even liked season 2 more than season 1. Some of the characters in there were just absolutely fabulous. It's just such a good show. You guys who watch it, I know you feel me on that. Anywho, I think that covers all of the actual favorites featured in the spread here. Another note on the spread, it was really looking like a hot mess, let me tell you. The combinations of colors I had going on in here just got kind of ugly, kind of fast. And I was trying to make it a little bit more cohesive and thematic with I went into it thinking, okay, my header, I'm going to do like pink and blue, and I'll try to do more pink and blues kind of all over. Because in my mind, pink and blue equals Disneyland. That's just the color combo in my head that I associate with it. And that I've been doing a lot in my other journals, my 5-year journal, my junk journal, what have you. And it just seems to be working. But after I got everything in here and did the little wonky stars all over the place, I just was like, this is looking like a hot mess, a straight up hot mess. So I went in and I added more of those kind of yellow stripes all over, just kind of framing things, which I don't know if it helped it or made it worse. And then I just was like, oh boy, okay, let me just start outlining. Because when in doubt, bring in black, outline with black, and it usually saves whatever it is that I'm working on. So I started to do kind of more fine line details in things, but then quickly realized, what if I did a really chunky black outline on everything and then did black detailing inside of the objects? And I do think this ultimately saved this spread from looking way worse than much worse than I could have. The really thick outline on it really kind of made it look more like stickers, which is always a visual goal of mine in my work, is how can I make something look like I've stuck it in like a sticker. I also don't know if the combination of the gouache and watercolor was really working for me here, but I really just think it was a color issue and me trying to force it to be cohesive when it really didn't need to be. So I think next time, and that's the thing, is that I'd like for this to be a monthly series here on the channel of drawing my favorites for the month and chit-chatting to you about them. And what I have done, and you would have seen that at the beginning of the video, is that I've kind of dog-eared, so to speak, 12 spreads in the back of this particular sketchbook so that I have kind of one saved for every month. So I do intend on continuing this on. I don't know if I will, do it all in one sitting again like I did this time. I don't know. I need to come up with a better strategy for this. I do think I need to let go of trying to have things thematically go together with color, because it's very challenging to make that happen when you have so many different objects that you're trying to represent, unless you're doing a monochromatic palette, which I don't really see myself doing. But I don't know. I think I need to let that go a little bit, and that if it ends up being all over the place, then so be it. I also like the idea of playing with my header fonts a little bit more, playing around with the format of it a little bit more. I just think that it'll be an interesting challenge. This isn't something that I normally do, and certainly not on this scale. I illustrate little things like this about my day, or objects or what have you a lot in my 5-year journal. My 5-year journal is getting a lot of love in this video, let me tell you. But never like this, like large scale in a sketchbook like this. So I think this serves both as interesting content. You guys let me know, obviously. A fun way to highlight, my monthly favorites, fill up sketchbook pages, and also just kind of challenge myself to draw things that I don't normally draw. I'm usually not illustrating teacups like this in my art journals. And also just kind of curate things together and play with layouts and what have you. And I don't know. In the end, I did end up liking this spread. It's still a little bit of a hot mess, but I'm still digging it. And I think this will be a fun new series to bring to the channel. Let me know what you think, and I'll see you guys in the next one. Bye.